Welcome to HD Rare Coins, your ultimate source for rare coins, fascinating history, and the thrill of discovery. From legendary pennies to hidden gems, we explore the world of numismatics one amazing coin at a time. It was 1925. America was in a strange, transformative era. The wounds of World War I were still fresh, but the economy was roaring. Jazz played in the streets, speakeasies thrived behind closed doors, and the skyline of cities like New York began to rise higher and faster than ever before. It was a time of ambition, energy, and experimentation. The country was changing, and so was the face of its currency. Amid this backdrop of flappers and Model Ts, a single copper coin rolled off a set of dies deep in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, at the Denver Mint. It was a humble 1-cent piece. Small, brown, and easy to overlook. Just a penny. But the story behind that 1925 Lincoln cent is anything but ordinary. In fact, nearly 100 years later, that same penny, at least one example of it, would shock the coin collecting world with its stunning value of $125,000. How does something so small become so valuable? That's the mystery that draws people in. It's not just metal and numbers, it's history, craftsmanship, and the perfect storm of rarity, demand, and survival. To understand why this coin matters, we need to go back a bit further. The Lincoln cent had only been around for a little over 15 years by 1925. When it was first issued in 1909, it was revolutionary. It was the first time a real person, an actual president, was featured on a circulating U.S. coin. Abraham Lincoln, no less. His 100th birthday gave the U.S. Mint the excuse it needed to break from the classical depictions of liberty and use a real historical figure. Victor David Brenner was the designer, and his original 1909 design was rich with detail. Lincoln's profile faced right, solemn and firm, with the word "Liberty" to his left and the date on his right. On the back was a pair of wheat ears framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, a simple, agricultural design for a country still rooted in the land. By 1925, the coin was still using Brenner's design, although small adjustments had been made over the years. The initials, VDB, that had caused so much controversy in 1909 had long since been restored, but subtly, beneath Lincoln's shoulder, the Denver Mint, established in 1906, had grown into one of the most important branches of the U.S. mint system. By 1925, it was responsible for producing a significant portion of the nation's coinage, especially for circulation in the western states. But even with high-capacity equipment, the Denver Mint was still susceptible to the limitations of the era: die wear, low-quality planchets, uneven strikes. That's part of what makes the 1925 penny so interesting. That year, Denver produced just over 22.5 million 1-cent coins. That might sound like a lot, and compared to some earlier key dates, it is. But consider this: most of those coins were poorly struck. The dies used at the Denver Mint in 1925 were nearing the end of their life cycle, and many of the coins that year show weak details, especially in Lincoln's hair and beard. The mint mark D is often faint. Combine that with the fact that cents of this era circulated hard, many never surviving the decades ahead, and you begin to see why high-grade examples are so rare. Most 1925 cents today are heavily worn. They've lived long lives in pockets, cash registers, and piggy banks. The average circulated coin from this year is darkened, worn smooth in places, maybe even pitted from corrosion. It's easy to pass one over without a second glance. But for those who know what to look for those patient enough to study thousands of coins, the treasure is there. Finding a 1925 Lincoln cent in mint state is an extraordinary feat, and finding one with a strong strike, full detail, original red luster, and no signs of cleaning or damage. That's the dream. Those are the coins that collectors pay thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, for. It's almost poetic, in a way. A coin designed to be common. A coin meant to be spent and forgotten. And yet, it survives a century to become a symbol of beauty, rarity, and history. For collectors, the appeal of the 1925 penny goes beyond numbers. Yes, its population in top grades is tiny. Yes, the price charts show a dramatic curve as the grades improve. But it's also the story, the journey of survival. A coin that endured the Great Depression. That might have passed through the hands of a bootlegger or a jazz musician. A coin that was worth so little, yet witnessed so much. Imagine where that penny might have gone. It could have been tossed on a candy store counter by a child with sticky fingers. Or maybe it was dropped in a gas station tin by a tired traveler crossing the dust-choked highways of the 1930s. Perhaps it sat, forgotten, in a coffee can at the back of a drawer through wars, weddings, and generations. That's the magic of coins. They carry stories, silent witnesses to lives we'll never know. As numismatics matured as a field in the 20th century, collectors began to recognize the importance of date and mint combinations. They realized that not all Lincoln cents were created equal. Some dates were easy. Others, like the 1925 D, were tough. Not necessarily because of mintage, but because of condition. The grading scale, from poor 1 to mint state 70, plays a huge role in value. A 1925 D penny in good condition might be worth a few dollars. In fine, maybe a bit more. But once you reach the uncirculated grades, MS 60 and above, the value starts climbing fast. In MS 65 red, where the coin still gleams with its original copper luster, the rarity skyrockets. Fewer than a dozen examples are known in that condition. And when one crosses the auction block, it doesn't go quietly. Collectors and investors alike watch those sales closely. They know that a coin like the 1925 D in top grade isn't just a collectible, it's an asset. A piece of American history. A piece of art. And perhaps most importantly, a story. It's this combination of elements, history, rarity, survival, and condition, that make the 1925 D penny such a marvel. In the world of coin collecting, it's not the flashiest or the most famous. It doesn't get the spotlight like the 1909 SVDB or the 1914 D. But among seasoned collectors, the 1925 D commands respect. It's a quiet challenge, a puzzle waiting to be solved, and for one lucky owner, that puzzle paid off in a way few could imagine. A pristine example, graded mint state, full red color, sharp strike, nearly flawless, surfaced at auction. Bidders knew what they were looking at. They'd waited years, maybe decades, for a coin like this to come to market. And when the gavel finally fell, the price was staggering $125,000 for a penny. But as any collector will tell you, it's not just about the denomination. It's about the legacy. The story. The rarity. The connection to the past. And this 1925 D had it all. In the vast realm of numismatics, error coins hold a special allure. They are the serendipitous anomalies that escape the rigorous quality control of mints, offering collectors a glimpse into the unpredictable nature of coin production. The 1925 D Lincoln wheat cent stands as a testament to this allure, captivating enthusiasts with its unique characteristics and the mystery surrounding its creation. To appreciate the significance of this cent, it's essential to understand the minting process. Modern coin production is a symphony of precision, involving multiple stages from blanking and annealing to striking and inspection. Despite the technological advancements and stringent protocols, the sheer volume of coins produced, billions annually, means that occasional errors are inevitable. The Denver Mint, responsible for the 1925 D cent, is one of the primary facilities of the U.S. Mint. In 1925 alone, it produced over 22.5 million 1-cent coins. Amidst this massive output, the emergence of a singular error coin is both remarkable and intriguing. Such a coin not only defies the odds but also becomes a focal point for collectors and historians alike. Error coins can manifest in various forms: off-center strikes, double strikes, planchet errors, and more. Each type offers insights into the minting process and the specific circumstances that led to the anomaly. The 1925 D Lincoln wheat cent, with its distinctive features, likely resulted from a combination of factors, possibly including a misaligned die or an incorrect planchet. Collectors are drawn to error coins for several reasons. Firstly, their rarity makes them valuable. An error coin is, by definition, a deviation from the norm, and the fewer there are, the more coveted they become. Secondly, they serve as tangible pieces of history, capturing a moment when the meticulous process of coin production faltered. However briefly, the market for error coins is robust, with collectors willing to pay significant premiums for unique pieces. Online platforms like eBay often list error cents from 1925, with prices ranging based on the nature and severity of the error. For instance, a 1925 D Lincoln wheat cent with a planchet error was listed for $44.95, highlighting the substantial value collectors place on such anomalies. Beyond their monetary worth, error coins like the 1925 D cent sparked discussions and debates within the numismatic community. Enthusiasts analyze the specifics of the error, speculate on its origin, and share findings with fellow collectors. This collaborative exploration adds depth to the hobby, fostering a sense of camaraderie and shared discovery. Moreover, the story of the 1925 D Lincoln wheat cent underscores the importance of vigilance. It serves as a reminder that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places, even in everyday pocket change. For collectors and casual observers alike, it emphasizes the value of paying attention to the details and the potential rewards of curiosity. In conclusion, the 1925 D Lincoln wheat cent is more than just a coin, it's a narrative of chance, error, and the human fascination with the imperfect. In the depths of the Great Depression, the year 1932 stood out as one of the hardest America had ever endured. Millions were unemployed. Banks were shuttering their doors. Families huddled together in breadlines, hoping for warmth and sustenance. But even in such dire times, coins still moved, quietly passing hands, carrying stories, and serving as lifelines for a struggling nation. One such coin, nearly invisible in its importance at the time, was struck in the heart of the Rocky Mountains at the Denver Mint. It was just a penny. A single cent. A small copper disc stamped with the profile of one of America's greatest presidents. But as the decades passed, this humble coin would rise from obscurity to become one of the most talked about, sought after, and valuable 1-cent pieces in numismatic history. The 1932 D Lincoln wheat penny. No one holding it in 1932 would have guessed what it might one day be worth. It wasn't silver or gold. It didn't sparkle. In fact, it may have been carried in the pockets of coal miners, farmers, or railroad workers, passed hand to hand through dirty palms and over dusty counters. Yet today, one exceptional example of this coin is valued at a staggering $115,000. How did that happen? Let's rewind and step into the world where this coin was born. The Lincoln cent, by then, had already been circulating for over 2 decades. First introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it had become a staple in American currency. The design by Victor David Brenner, simple yet profound, had remained mostly unchanged. Lincoln's stoic profile faced to the right. His thoughtful gaze set above the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 1932, in this case, flanked on the right side, just below his chin. At the bottom right of his jacket, so small you'd miss it without a loop, were the initials, VDB, a quiet signature of the artist. The reverse still bore the classic wheat ears design, framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, with E pluribus unum arching above it. This reverse had been in place since the coin's debut, serving not only as a symbol of the American agricultural backbone but also as a nod to unity, strength, and heritage. In 1932, the world was not kind. The Great Depression was at its peak. President Herbert Hoover struggled to reassure a desperate public. People were hoarding money, not spending it. The demand for coins dropped sharply. In fact, in 1932, the U.S. Mint produced fewer coins across the board than in most years before or after. This brings us to the Denver Mint, a facility that had been operating since 1906. It was responsible for minting coins primarily for circulation in the western United States. In 1932, the Denver Mint struck a modest number of Lincoln cents. Compared to previous years, the mintage was strikingly low, approximately 10.5 million pieces. While that's not minuscule in absolute numbers, it was among the lowest mintages for the series during the early 20th century, but mintage alone doesn't define rarity. You see, many of the 1932 D cents that were struck suffered from poor production quality. The dies used at Denver were often overused, causing weaker strikes and less detail. The result? Many 1932 D cents entered circulation already lacking full definition in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat. Combine that with the fact that most were heavily circulated during one of the hardest economic eras in U.S. history, and you end up with very few surviving examples in excellent condition. Most of the 1932 D pennies today are well worn. You'll find them with smoothed surfaces, faded wheat stalks, and sometimes even completely missing details in Lincoln's coat. The copper has darkened from years of handling. It's not uncommon to see examples with scratches, corrosion, and even bends. These were workhorse coins, not collector's items. They were never meant to survive pristine, yet a few did. Perhaps one coin was set aside by a cautious saver who, even during the Great Depression, tucked it into a cigar box. Or maybe it landed in the hands of a young boy who was beginning a coin collection, his own quiet rebellion against a world of scarcity. Whatever the path, a small number of 1932 D cents survived the storms of time. And among them, fewer still retained the original red luster, the full sharpness of strike, and the untouched surfaces that define a mint state coin. This is where things get interesting. In the numismatic world, condition is everything. Take two 1932 D cents, one heavily worn and worth a couple of dollars, the other in immaculate, mint state condition, glowing with its original coppery red tone. The difference in value between the two is not linear, it's exponential. The finest known examples, graded MS-65 red or higher, are nearly mythical in their rarity. Some believe only a handful exist in this condition, each one a miracle of survival. For collectors, the chase becomes intoxicating. Auction houses know this. So do high-end dealers and serious numismatists. The 1932 D is a key date, not because it's the lowest mintage, not because of some spectacular error, but because of the perfect storm, low production, poor strikes, mass circulation, and Depression-era economics that discouraged hoarding. When one of these coins in top condition comes to market, the bidding war is fierce. Prices can soar in minutes. Every bidder knows they may not get another chance for years. That's how, recently, a nearly flawless example, graded mint state 66 red by a leading grading service, achieved an astonishing sale price of $115,000. From 1 cent to 6 figures, but even at this level, it's not just about the money. It's about the story. That single penny represents survival. It made it through the worst economic collapse in modern history, avoided wear, avoided being spent or melted or lost. It stood the test of time, quietly, unassumingly, until someone realized what they had. There's also the emotional aspect. Coins, after all, are more than metal. They're time machines. They connect us to people we'll never meet, in places we'll never go. When you hold a 1932 D penny, you hold history. You imagine the dusty roads of the 1930s, the desperation in every transaction, the small victories a single cent could buy. And you feel a kinship with the past. That's the power of numismatics. Even among modern collectors, the Lincoln Wheat series remains one of the most beloved. It's accessible, yet deep. Simple, yet full of complexity. With over 100 major date and mint mark combinations, it challenges beginners and experts alike. And among them all, the 1932 D remains one of the most mysterious and alluring. As the script continues, we'll dive into the specific die characteristics of the 1932 D, known varieties, strike quality issues, population data from major grading services, notable auction results, and stories from collectors who found one in the wild. We'll uncover how to distinguish a cleaned or altered coin from a true gem, how coin grading works, and what drives the market demand for early Lincoln cents. And finally, at the heart of this coin story is a truth that resonates beyond collecting. Sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest value, not because of what they're made of, but because of where they've been, how they've survived, and what they represent. So, the next time you see a penny, don't just walk past it. Pick it up. Look closer. You never know what history might be hiding in plain sight. The 1932 D. Lincoln wheat cent, minted during the throes of the Great Depression, holds a unique place in American numismatic history. With a mintage of just 10,500,000, it stands as one of the lower production figures for the series during that era. This limited production, combined with the economic hardships of the time, meant that few individuals had the means or foresight to set aside coins for preservation. As a result, high-grade examples of this coin are exceedingly rare. Grading plays a pivotal role in determining a coin's value. The Sheldon scale, ranging from 1 to 70, is the standard for assessing a coin's condition. For the 1932 D cent, most surviving specimens are found in circulated grades, often displaying significant wear. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with original red luster, designated as RD, are highly sought after. For instance, a 1932 D Lincoln cent graded MS67 plus RD by PCGS achieved a remarkable auction price of $25,200 in February 2021. The coin's composition, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, makes it susceptible to environmental factors. Over time, exposure can lead to toning or discoloration, affecting its aesthetic appeal and, consequently, its grade. Collectors prize coins that retain their original red hue, as they indicate minimal exposure and handling. Authentication is another critical aspect. Given the coin's value, counterfeits and altered specimens exist in the market. Reputable grading services like PCGS and NGC not only provide a grade but also authenticate the coin, offering collectors peace of mind. Market demand for the 1932 D cent remains robust. Its combination of low mintage, historical significance, and scarcity in high grades ensures its continued desirability. Collectors and investors alike view it as a cornerstone piece for a complete Lincoln cent collection. In our next segment, we'll explore the broader context of the Lincoln wheat cent series, its evolution over the years, and how the 1932 D fits into the larger narrative of American coinage.